Hello and welcome to the 51st tutorial in the SFML 2.1 series. In this part we'll be looking at how to create a menu class. We'll be using source code from the third tutorial. If you don't have it, there'll be a link in the description. SFML provides a lot of functionality, but many systems aren't one of them. But we will create a menu class that can be easily extended for more advanced functionality in your own game. So we'll be using the text for the menu item, so make sure you have a font file available. We covered this in the 49th tutorial. Firstly, once we've opened up our project, we're going to add a new class. I did set it to open. Yeah, and I'm going to call it menu, so we're going to have a menu header and a menu CPP file. So if you just right click your project, if you're in something like Xcode or something else, the process will be a little different, but she should be all good. Just add a class, like I said, I'm going to call it menu. And the first thing we're going to do is just include the SFML graphics library. And we will overload the constructor so it takes the screen width and height, which we will use to position the menu items. So this constructor will take a float width, a float height, and now let's add the draw and move methods. So what we're going to do is void draw, and this is going to take SF render window and %window. Sort of also covered this when we were looking at the class update and render in a few tutorials back. So it's very similar to that, it's just extended. Void move up. This will be triggered when you click the up button, or you could be the W, and the move down will be triggered when you click the down button. Not mouse down, move down. Okay, we will now create a font object and an array of text items, also a variable to keep track of which menu items are selected. But before we do that, we're going to do a hash define. So hash define max underscore number of items. I think hash defines are amazing. They're just so cool. So private int selected item index. This will be basically the item that is selected at current time. We're going to do SF font, and this obviously be the font that we use for our menu item. We're going to do SF text. We're going to make an array of this, and the size will be the max number of items. We will now go to the constructor and load the file. So in here, actually first of all we need to update the constructor because it had, I believe it was float width and height. Yeah, so I wanted to make sure you want to float height and width. Float width and height. So we're going to do if. Now, this is stuff that we've covered before. Font.load from file. And in here I'm going to put aerial.ttf. I'm going to put handle error. And now the next thing we're going to do is initialize the menu item. So for that we do menu dot set font. Did I call it menu? No, I'll call it text. Sorry. Actually, no, I'm going to rename it menu, because I think menu sounds better than text. And so I'm going to put menu dot set font, and for the font we're going to put font, and then we'll do menu 0 dot set color. Then we're going to put SF color inside SF color red. Menu, obviously the color can be whatever you want. Dot set string, not / dot set string. There we go. And for the string, we're going to put play. We're going to try and make it look like how a menu would, so items you would have in there. We'll do menu dot set position. I'm going to do SF vector to F. And then we're going to do width, which is what we're going to pass in, divided by 2, so it's going to be centered in the x-axis, So the height's going to be height divided by 4 multiplied by 1. You might be thinking, what am I doing here? Well, this is just a little formula that I've come up with. If you want to center the items with equal padding, what you do is you get basically the height or the width. You divide that by the number of items plus 1. As we have 3 items, we're going to do plus 1. Actually, a better way will be to do this. Max number of items plus 1. It's a little more dynamic. And then you multiply by 1, 2, or 3, or basically from 1 all the way to the number of menu items you have, and they'll position it in each little section. You'll see a little, or you'll understand a little more once we actually run it. So we just got to change this. We're going to change this to a 1. Change this to white. Explain in a second why we change that to white. Change this to options. Set position. We'll put this at the number 2, and this will position this one at the top. This will position this one in the middle, and the final one will be positioned at the bottom. We're going to do 2, 2, 2. Change the color. Leave the color as it is. Sorry. Exit, and change this to a 3. You may be wondering why we have red, white, white, and why this one red. And the reason is we're going to have the one they selected, which by default will be the first one, but you can change that if you want to. And we're going to have that as red. Obviously, as a little extra task, you can maybe enlarge it, then decrease the size when you select and deselect it. And now we can implement the draw method to draw the menu item. So if we just scroll down here and do void menu colon draw, and in here it's going to take SF render window ampersand window. Then in here we'll do 4 int I equals 0, I less than max number of items, I plus plus, and we'll do window.draw, and we'll put menu I, so it's going to draw all the item. Before we add any more functionality to the menu, let's see if it works and the state of it at the moment. So if we go to our main file, it's going to do hash include menu.h. Now what we're going to do is create a menu. So we're going to do menu. We just need to pass in the width and the height. And instead of putting 600 by 600, I'm going to put window. Get size. This way it's just a little more dynamic, so if I change the property there, it'll propagate down. This might only seem like a small thing here, but when you start building a reasonably sized application or game, these small things add up and they'll help you save a lot of time, a lot of effort, and just a lot of aggravation. So yeah, trying to make it as dynamic as possible is cool. So next thing we're going to do menu.draw window. Yep. And now if we put a semicolon, run our application. There you go, we have something that looks like a menu. If I click the up and down key, nothing happens because we haven't programmed that in. There's 3 lines of code and in the main, and we already have something that looks like a menu, so we're on the right track. Last thing to do in the constructor of the menu CPP is initialize the selected item index to 0. Obviously, let's say if you wanted this one selected, so you put this one as red, and you put that as 1. And if you wanted this, you put this as red and put this as 2. And now we will now implement the move up and move down function. So we're going to do void menu colon move up, and in here we're going to do if selected item index -1 is greater than or equal to 0, because we don't want it to go less than 0. I'm going to check if by clicking up, which will take away one from the selected item index, will it go below 0. If so, we won't do anything. So we're going to menu selected item index dot set color with SF color white, And now we're going to do selected item index minus minus. Now we're going to do menu, selected item index. So this will be the newly selected item index dot set color, and obviously we're going to put red as a color red. And what we can do is simply copy and paste this, change this to move down, change this to +1, and check if it's less than max number of items. If so, this is fine. We can just change this to a ++, not minus ++, just ++. To trigger these methods, we will go to the main.cpp and check for the keyboard event. So if we just do case, this is all stuff that we covered earlier on in the series, seems so long ago now. Event : key released, and what we're going to be doing is put a break, and then in here we're going to have a switch statement. Be event, and you switch on event.key.code so we can detect what key has been pressed. And in here we're going to do case SF keyboard : up, and if the up key is pressed, we're going to do menu dot get dot move up. And then we can do case SF. What's the amount? Oh, it's all right now. Keyboard : down. And put menu dot move down. Put a break statement. And now if we run our application, we can move up and down, but if we click the enter key, nothing happens because again, we haven't programmed it in. This stuff that we need to implement. And so what we need to do is we're going to go to our menu.h, we're going to create a function, but we're going to implement it right here because it's very simple. We'll do int get pressed item, and we're just going to do return selected item index. Now what we can do, go back to our main.cpp, and where we have here, we're going to do another case, so case SF keyboard : return, which is the enter key. And in here we're going to do a no switch statement. There's a lot of nested switch statements here. And we'll switch on menu dot get pressed item. It's going to case 0. Oh, the reason it didn't position properly, I forgot to put the curly braces, and put case 0 : stdc out, play button has been pressed, std end line, and put a break statement. And what we're going to do is copy and paste this, change this to a 1, change this to a 2, and I'm going to change this to option button has been pressed. But for this, instead of saying exit button has been pressed, I'm going to actually implement some functionality. We're going to do window.close, and this is basically what we use right here when we click the cross in the basically this button here, but in our application. So if we run our application now, move this over slightly so you can see the console window a little better, and if we click enter, it says play button has been pressed, option, play, option, and it prevents us from going off the play buttons when we go clicking up and down, so we can see which one has been selected because it's red. If we click exit, it exits the application. Task for you is to look into making it more dynamic so the menu class can be used wherever, and you can specify the number of items and their properties. If If you have any questions, feel free to message us at support@sonarsystems.co.uk. The email will be in the description. You can comment on this video or just directly message us via YouTube. All the required links for source code will also be in the description. In the next part of this series, we're going to be looking at how to use OpenGL with an SFML window. And as usual, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.